Welcome to our class, Managerial Economics, Introduction. So by definition, managerial economics is application of theories, principles, and methodologies that help to solve practical problems faced by managers in decision making. So managerial economics is actually the integration of two things, economic theory and decision sciences. I call this economic theory and decision sciences. It brings together these two. Under economic theory, we have macro and microeconomics. Decision sciences, we have econometrics, where we have forecasting. So when managerial economics brings these two elements together, it solves economic problems optimally. So this is how managerial economics is defined diagrammatically. So these problems are solved using optimization. So under microeconomics, we're going to discuss market structures, revenue maximization. So it is an integration according to Spencer, and it's integration of economic theory with big business practice for the purpose of facilitating decision making and forward planning by management. So managerial economics is what entitles each one of you here to be called managers. So why is managerial economics important? It's important for many reasons. Number one, it is the main tool for decision making. It is also important for forecasting. Managerial economics is important for resource allocation because we're going to use these scarce resources like labor, capital, and materials to optimize production. Managerial economics is important to assist managers in um, optimization. Okay, profit optimization. So when we're optimizing, we are trying to find the best value of profit, best value of revenues to make the best decisions. Then it is important for cost control and analysis. It helps in analyzing the fixed and variable costs to reducing inefficiencies. And geoeconomics is there to help in pricing decisions, which is part of our earlier areas of concern today. It is there for risk and uncertainty. So geoeconomics is important to help by utilizing tools like the break-even analysis and margin analysis to making rational decisions under uncertainty. Okay, so managerial economics does quite a lot. So now let's delve into understanding the key concepts in managerial economics. The key concepts in managerial economics. So what key concepts are we going to look at in this course? We're going to look at demand analysis, elasticity. We're going to look at production and cost analysis, market structures, pricing strategies, and profit management. All these are vital elements in managerial economics. So when dealing with demand analysis, we are looking at study of consumer behavior and how it helps to forecast sales and plan for production. When you're looking at demand analysis or elasticity of demand, we're looking at measurement of the responsiveness of demand to changes in price and income. So it is useful when managers want to make pricing decisions or marketing decisions. Other concept or ingredient of managerial economics will include production and cost analysis, where we're going to examine the input and output relationships that will help identify the least cost production methods. We'll also look at the market structures, which will help us study competition in the different types of markets, the preferred competition, monopoly, oligopoly. So these will help us determine the pricing and output strategies. Managerial economics will also enhance our pricing strategies to mainly focus on the policies that will be there to set these prices, which include the penetration strategy, the skimming strategy, the cost plus strategies. I will talk about this in depth. Managerial economics is there to assist in analyzing profit margins and the cost structures. So it will help guide managers in maximizing the shareholder returns. So we'll then look at the questions. So now, what is the scope of managerial economics and what are the limitations thereof? So from the definition, what is involved in managerial economics? Who remembers? What is the scope of managerial economics? There's microeconomic focus. There's the decision sciences, which look at the normative nature. So managerial economics will encompass microeconomics, which focuses on a firm level decision making, and macro decisions, which look at the national um, effects affecting a business, like the GDP, the inflation. It also look at the normative nature of um, managerial economics, should you consider what a manager should do under certain conditions, the interdisciplinary nature of managerial economics, which combines economics, it combines mathematics, statistics. So you discover that some of the topics that are there in quantitative methods are also here in managerial economics because it has an interdisciplinary nature. The limitations in managerial economics, however, exist in that it depends on uncertain future focus. It also assumes that humans have a rational behavior, which is not realistic, that humans are always wanting more for less. Managerial economics also has a limitation that external factors like government policies, the global shocks, they may limit its application. Those are the key limitations. So questions we're going to look at, as has been sent for now, include the following. Number one, we've been asked to define the following. Number one, defend the inclusion of economics, the global and the firm's perspective as a mandatory component in postgraduate curriculum at your school. Part B, develop brief notes for a workshop presentation on the topic, economic skills every manager needs. These applied questions and write a justification for creating managerial economics department in an organization. Then discuss the 4 essential principles that managers need to understand to be effective in their roles. Okay, confirm these are the questions you sent me. Right, so
Yes, yes.
let's look at the first part. Okay, let's defend the inclusion of economics, the global and the firm's perspective. Why should the inclusion of the global and the firm's perspective be a mandatory component in your postgraduate? And let's justify. Okay, so the first justification, number one, is that of strategic decision making. Here are some of the justification points that we can have. Okay, I'll be able to see my screen. Okay, number one,
Yes, we can see.
the justification lies in the strategic decision making. The course will provide students with analytical skills and the framework to understand and evaluate the economic environment which firms operate in. So we know managers are consistently faced with decisions in an evolving market that recall uh, resource allocation, the pricing, the production, and investment under conditions of uncertainty. So in this course, why do you think this should be integrated, the global and the firm's perspective? Postgraduate students will gain the ability to interpret these economic indicators to make forecasts and make data-driven decisions. For instance, as a student, you'll be able to understand elasticity or cost structures. These will allow firms to adjust pricing strategies that may uh, relate to economic downturns or market shifts. So, secondly, global competence. In terms of global competence, the course will provide you with an understanding of the global market dynamics in terms of trade, financial systems that affect Zambian firms. So, you know, today's globalized economy, firms no longer operate in isolation. So, the success of businesses at your workplace in Zambia will depend on the global trade dynamics. We are not isolated. So, the exchange rates, the international financial systems, this course actually exposes students to the complexities of the international markets, the trade policies, uh, institutions that students you work at include the IMF, the World Bank, and the World Trade Organization. So by understanding these global factors, graduates will better be equipped to position Zambian firms competitively in regional and international markets. So for instance, the knowledge that you may have between trade agreements with SADC and COMESA, those will help businesses to expand cross-border operations. The third reason why the global aspect must be integrated is the macroeconomic awareness. So it will help you managers to interpret the inflation, the exchange rate, the interest rates, the fiscal policy trends affecting business operations. So in that regard, you will be aware directly of how these influence business performance. So this course will enhance the students' ability to interpret these economic trends, to understand their implications, to also understand the impact on business operations. For instance, there's a rise in inflation. What does that mean? It will increase the production cost. It will also mean prices will go up. When there's a currency depreciation, what will happen to the imports and exports? What will happen to profitability? So being aware of these macroeconomic forces, business future leaders like you can develop adaptive strategies to safeguard the firm's stability. Are we together? Number three, justification for integrating that in your course is that it will link macroeconomic conditions to the micro. Remember, this is economic theory to link the macroeconomic conditions to the micro level, pricing, investment, and production. So the key strength that this course will have is its ability to connect the economic theory, macroeconomic to be specific, to microeconomic decisions. So as students, you learn the national and international economics that will affect the micro choices relating to pricing, investment, and production. So with this integrated uh, perspective, it will ensure that you managers are able to translate the broad economic insights into the practical actions in a business. For instance, when interest rates rise, firms will need to choose to delay what? Projects and seek alternative financing options. Why should global um, and firms as perspective be integrated in your course for policy interpretation? So it will enable you graduates to anticipate and respond to government regulations, taxation, and economic reforms. So this is a very applied question which seeks to find out, those of you who have just joined, why it is important for the inclusion of the global and the firm's perspective as a mandatory component uh, for the postgraduate curriculum. Okay, so we're talking about policy interpretation. So it will enable students to anticipate um, policies like taxation and monetary adjustments and regulations. These play a very important role in shaping the business environment. So the course will equip you, the students, with the capacity to interpret and anticipate and respond effectively to such policy changes. So understanding how a tax regime, a subsidy will impact various sectors. It will enable graduates to align corporate strategies with national economic priorities. Number six, competitive advantage. So to build graduates capable of operating effectively in both domestic and international markets. So this course will actually build or incorporate um, the firm's global and firm level economics to enhance your strategic capabilities as graduates, making you competitive both in the domestic and international job markets. So the knowledge that you gain will empower you to analyze the global economic trends and identify any emerging opportunities. These opportunities, and you mitigate risks that will threaten the performance of an organization. All right? Are we together?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So the other is also research skills to strengthen your research skills. So you have the ability to assess economic data, also evaluate risk, and also propose sustainable business strategies. That is another advantage that you will have in understanding this course. I hope that is clear. So question part A has been answered. Unless there are any additions that you feel I've left out. Okay. So let's go to the next question. Next question reads, prepare brief notes. Option part B, prepare brief notes on the topic economic skills every manager needs. Economic skills every manager needs. So what would you say if you're the one preparing those notes on economic skills that every manager needs? How would your presentation go? I love the outline of this question. It's very applied. Okay, so the presentation must include these vital issues. Of course, you can add what you can to emphasize key points. So number one, introduce your presentation on the importance of economic literacy, which is essential for every modern manager. Understanding how the economy works will enable managers to make sound decisions to improve efficiency, profitability, and long-term sustainability. So why the need for economic literacy? Number one, mm, to obtain the core economic skills like demand forecasting, cost benefit analysis, and pricing risk. So this question indirectly is asking the importance of what? Managerial economics. Okay, the importance of managerial economics. So the core skills that every manager needs first is demand forecasting, which will help to predict the future sales and market trends. So this will enable managers understand production planning, inventory management, cost benefit analysis, which helps to guide managers in evaluating what? Alternative um, resource allocation. It will ensure that every investment or project will deliver the maximum value relative to the cost. For instance, if you're in a manufacturing firm, you decide whether to automate production lines or to use the manual workers. The other importance is that of price strategy. So it will involve understanding price elasticity, competitor pricing, and consumer perception. So it will help determine the optimal price and also point out how to maximize revenue. In terms of risk assessment, what did we say about risk assessment? It will enable our managers apply probability and expected value to decision making. In so doing, it will equip the manager to plan for uncertainties like the currency fluctuations or changes in input costs. Market analysis. So manager will be able to assess the industry structure and the consumer behavior. So it will focus on understanding the industry structure, competition, and how consumers behave. So this will enable the firm to identify the market opportunities and threats early. Lastly, but not the least, we talk about the issues of financial interpretation. So it will help managers interpret interest rates, inflation, and exchange rates and their effects. And so this will help managers make informed decisions in financing and investment. For instance, interpreting the central bank policy changes. What does it mean? Just the other day, I was sending what one of your colleagues sent in terms of price ceiling. I was asking that the uh, government wants to make a ceiling on pricing of cooking oil. So question was that the government intervention, was that a price seal or a floor price? Okay. People were discussing, seeing how Nigeria economics is shaping your um, your level of understanding should be different. Talk about the strategic application. So using economic indicators for business planning, applying the game theory to competitive strategy, and also managing uncertainty with managerial analysis. So when you're using the economic indicators for business planning, so managers will use uh, macroeconomic indicators like GDP growth, inflation, and employment data to anticipate what is obtaining in the market trend. For instance, a company may delay expansion if GDP growth is slowing, so and consumer spending is weakening. So as an economist, these indicators will be available to anticipate. It also make game theory applicable to competitive strategies. So managerial economics will teach managers how to anticipate the competitors' reaction and to make strategic moves accordingly. For instance, if there are price wars in the telecom or retail industry, what do we do? Thirdly, it will equip us in managing what? Decisions and uncertainty. So to help firms make decisions based on incremental benefits and costs. For instance, you need to decide much more, how much more to produce when demand is increasing slightly. So in a nutshell, make your conclusion of your presentation. Emphasize that economic thinking leads to efficient, informed, and sustainable management decisions. So economic literacy will empower the manager to think critically, to plan strategically, to act efficiently, and it will enhance their ability to interpret these market signals and manage the risks. And above all, allocate resources wisely. So the ultimate goal in economic thinking will lead to more efficient, informed, and sustainable decision. So this is how part B can be answered. All right. Are we together? So I keep sending these short notes in the group so that on your own, as you read them, you can relate.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's go to the next question. Next question reads, write a justification for creating managerial economics department in an organization that currently operates without one. In response, I should define the roles and responsibility of the departmental head and the managerial economist. Okay. Anyone to try to give a response to that? Why is the need for um, classification for creating a managerial department?
Maybe I can start by a few points I think that you had mentioned earlier. I think it's important for a business to have this department because, particularly, for instance, if you have if you're a business who's managing sales, it's important for you to understand the market trends, what's obtaining in the ground. For instance, the competitors, what is their market share? How are you going to grow your market share? So, in predicting future sales, in even making your strategic plan for the next years, you need a particular department that's going to have this demand forecasting. Then also in terms of the resources that you're putting into that are being invested in the business, you need to be able to weigh that is the cost against the benefits. You need to be able to anticipate what production is going to be like. So therefore, these are key elements of a successful business. You just don't want to go into a business without actually having an idea of what it would be. So yeah, I give the initial points.
Right, very good. Thank you so much. So, as explained, uh, the world today is competitive, and organizations need to base decisions around sound economic analysis rather than intuition or guesswork. So, a managerial economics department is there to bridge the gap between economic theory and practice. That's why the definition is the integration of what economic theory, just theory itself, and business practice. So applying these economic theories to solving real business problems is imperative, and that's why this department will be there to help management make sound and efficient what decisions, and like mentioned, strategic decisions that will improve the profitability for a long term. So the key core important point number one is for decision support. Okay, so the department will provide data-driven insights to key business choices like pricing, investment, production, and resource allocation. So before expanding a factory, the department should analyze the market demand, the production costs, the projected what returns that you anticipate to have. Secondly, managerial economics department is important for policy formulation. So it will advise management on the internal policies aligned with market and economic trends. So managerial economics department will be important because it will advise on developing internal policies that will align with this market behavior. It will help management to adjust salaries or pricing policies in response to inflation. Number three, performance optimization. So optimization is key. It's part of the definition. So it will help in analyzing the cost, demand, profitability to enhance operational efficiency. So through this department, the company will be able to identify areas that are inefficient and recommend strategies to improving them. So, for instance, analyzing whether outsourcing certain operations can reduce costs. Zambia Sugar does that. There are certain departments that it does not want to entertain, so it would rather pay a contractor to doing so. The other reason why this department may be important is that of risk and forecasting. The department will be able to evaluate the market fluctuations, consumer trends, and regulatory impact. So through this department, um, there will be continuous monitoring of the market trends, consumers, and regulatory changes to anticipate the risks that will be there and opportunities. So forecasting changes in commodity prices and interest rates will prepare an appropriate financial strategy. And finally, strategic planning, which is very important. It's a long-term planning that will use both the quantitative and qualitative economic models to make decisions. So we know the exponential smoothing, the moving averages are going to be important. Managerial economists will contribute to the long-term decision. Okay, the next part of the question, is that clear? Unless there's anything else to add from there. It's clear, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. So the next part of the question was asking us now um to do what? To explain after the department to define the roles and responsibilities of the what? Department head and the managerial economics. What are the roles of these key people? So what are the roles of the managerial economists or the departmental head? So number one, the proposed roles could be as follows. Economic analysis. So they conduct industry research and support executive decisions on production, marketing, and investment. So management will gain accurate insights into competitive dynamics, they're there into forecasting. So we hover around the same things, forecasting. So they're able to predict the short-term and long-term economic trends like inflation, exchange rates, and demand changes. They're also there into pricing policy development. So they'll design and evaluate the pricing strategies and balance profitability with market competitiveness. They are also into cost management. So they'll analyze the cost structures to identify areas where the organization can save without reducing efficiency and quality. All right. What else is a role of the managerial economists? Your roles as economists in managerial economics. So training and capacity building. So your role is to promote literacy among managers and departmental heads through seminars and workshops and internal briefings. Advisory role. So it serves as a strategic advisor to top management on major business decisions such as investments and budget expansions. Finally, reporting and communication. You need to prepare reports on economic trends, performance matrices, and also forecasts, providing regular day-to-day meetings on timely action. So these are some of the roles that you're expected to be aware of. All right. So last part of the question is simply for you to find out in our next class. Start from there. Then we'll go into the next topic under our outline. So discuss 4 economic principles that managers need to understand to be effective in their roles. What are they? Key roles that managers need to understand. Okay, you can do that on your own. We end here. Unless there are any questions.
None.
Okay, just giving you an idea of the roles that I need you to submit or discuss as we begin. So thank you so much for your time and have a good day.
Thank you.